My brother's beautiful. He's beautiful. I'm sure he put it to you, didn't he? Oh, I can see him now. Yes, my brother. Dexter? Unreliable. Dilettante. Waiting for Uncle to die so we can feed off his millions. Yes, if you want a suspect, I suggest you keep an eye on him, Lieutenant. Must go now. Terribly sorry. Toodaloo. How was that? Close?
Close? That was terrific. You're very talented. No, I mean that.
Thank you.
And you're right. That's pretty much what he said.
Let me ask you a question. Did you hurl the same defamatory remarks at him?
Good evening, Columbo fans. Welcome to the latest episode of the Columbo Confab Podcast. This is Sean.
And Steve.
And today, Is He Wild? Is He Wild? We're going to talk about Double Shock, starring Martin Landau as twin brothers Norman and Dexter Paris.
Do you think Martin Landau got paid twice?
I think that he got paid the same as anybody else did, Steve. I think that
He got gypped.
Do you know Martin Landau aside from Columbo here? Do you know any of his work?
Yeah, he was he in Ghost? No, not Ghost. What's that other Patrick Swayze film I'm thinking of? At the hotel.
Are you?
I know of him. I know him.
Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. Yes, thank you.
I have not seen Dirty Dancing in 25 years, and I never want to see it again. So I don't know.
Neither do I.
It's quite possible.
But yes, I am aware of Martin Landau. He's a great actor. I think he died actually recently, a couple of years back.
Yeah. He is the most recent Columbo murderer to have died.
Wow.
He is the father of Juliet Landau, who was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And she was a villain. She played Spike's girlfriend. I know it's not all about the kids, but I think she was in something else. But anyway, and he was, of course, won an Oscar for Ed Wood back in 1994, which at one time was my favorite movie ever.
Wow.
He played. It's out of my.
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi, yes.
Yeah.
Karloff does not deserve to smell my shit. Yeah, he was really good in that. So anyway,
are you just saying that, or are you quoting somebody?
No, he said that.
Okay.
He said that.
But yeah, I'm totally aware of Martin Landau. I was watching a TV show. I was at a conference and stuck watching whatever was on cable in my room, and he was playing. I know it sounds horrible. I'm not trying to be racist here, but he played a Hispanic bandito in a kind of a Gunsmoke episode. Because he always played, and I think I remember hearing that about him. He always played really good Latinos because they would paint him up a little darker, and he could speak Spanish. And
really?
So so kind of like a whitewashing of a role. I mean, I don't know why he would play those roles, but back in the 60s on TV, yeah, he was perfect for it. So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
It may not be Gunsmoke. It was something like an old Western popular TV show, like Bonanza or something like that.
One of them. They had dozens of them. He was also in North by Northwest. He played like James Mason's Heavy. He's the guy that goes and chases Cary Grant and can't remember the lady's name in that. Blah, blah, blah. Somebody's saying it now, of course. And he's the one that chases them on Mount Rushmore, and they climb around on Mount Rushmore. But he's kind of, I don't know. I can't put my finger on.
Was he a popular actor back when this came out?
I don't know. I had never heard of him before I saw the Columbo, and then he got some attention because of Ed Wood and won an Oscar. And then I would see him now and then, but like the older Martin Landau, he was in a Woody Allen movie called Crimes and Misdemeanors. But the younger one, the only thing I've seen him in is Columbo and North by Northwest. So,
okay.
This was the second season.
I mean, but by the time he was in the 80s, he was a really well-known actor. So yeah, in the 70s, I'll be curious, if he was as popular as he was back then. But yeah, so Martin Landau plays two two people in this episode, and one of them maybe is the murderer in this episode. So we start off. I think it's interesting. We start off with a mysterious person kind of cutting up an electrical cord for a blender
or a hand mixer.
A hand mixer. Thank you. And I like that the fact that what he's doing is not physically possible. Like, you could not. He basically had a cut off cord and he just pushed it into the socket of the mixer. That wouldn't work like that.
Why?
Electronically, that would not work because it would have to be actually connected to the proper positive and negative poles within the unit itself, and so just pushing it in does not make it work. Okay. It's not like plugging it into a wall socket. But whatever, we're simplifying because we want to have an episode where we see the beginning of the murder weapon. So I want to ask you this. So the murder weapon in this case is a hand mixer, and it kills his uncle Clifford by he throws it in the bathtub with him. Why is it necessary to have part of the cord cut with the wire exposed? Isn't just throwing the mixer in the bath enough? I would think so. Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. But anyways, let's go back a little bit before the actual murder. So we see Uncle Cliff. Can we call him Uncle Cliff?
Sure, let's call him Uncle Cliff. Poor old Uncle Cliff.
And then the sleazy lawyer Michael.
Oh yeah.
So they're he. I got a question about that later, by the way. Yeah. So they're fencing. So apparently Clifford likes to work out. He enjoys exercising. He's a health buff. He enjoys the companionship of younger women, wouldn't you say? But yeah, so we see them, and we see Dexter. Now, Dexter is one half of the role that Martin Landau is playing. He's a brother. We don't know he's a twin brother at this point, but he's a brother
of Norman.
Of Norman.
Yeah.
But he seems to be the more kind of easygoing, friendlier version. So he's basically, he meets his uncle while he's fencing and saying, "Hey, congratulations on your wedding day."
Yes. This is what he says. "How about that old guy? Is he wild? Is he wild?" That's what he says. "How about that old guy? Is he wild? Is he wild?" He's actually really nice, kind of in a 1970s. Yeah. Not exactly sleazy, but just, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. We also meet the maid, Mrs. Peck, who, I love Mrs. Peck in this episode. Mrs. Peck is the maid. She's basically the, I think she thinks of herself as the wife of Clifford.
Yeah.
She's been maintaining his household. She's responsible for meals.
Or maybe even his mother. Certainly a mother to Dexter and Norman, because
yes. Yeah. So we're introduced to her. But anyway, so we also find out during this brief introduction that Dexter has a cooking show. It's not the first cooking show that's been on Columbo, but interestingly enough, he does. So Dexter has a cooking show, and we see him. He's making, I guess, pastries or something for Mrs. Peck and her friends for a vacation or something. I'm not real sure.
They look like I don't know what they look like. Some kind of cookies. They look good, whatever they were. Yeah. But yeah.
And then we find out, of course, about Lisa, which I'm going to refer to throughout the rest of the episode as Julie Newmar. So Julie Newmar is actually in this episode. Yeah. Not very much, but she's in it as Lisa. Mm-hmm. And we also find out Mrs. Peck does not like her at all.
No, I think it's disgraceful. He's old enough to be her grandfather and so on.
Well, yeah.
So Dexter leaves to go someplace. Well, I'm not sure where he's off to. Mrs. Peck remains at the house for now. Mrs. Peck should be leaving to go to her sister's house because she has her coat on. Yet for some reason she's drawn to the television. She turns out the lights in her bedroom and watches TV. Okay, so I don't know if she was meant to be in the house or not during what
No,
follows.
I don't think she was expected to be in the house.
Yeah,
No.
so we see a gloved hand turn off the 14-year-old burglar alarm.
So is that a burglar alarm? Because it looks a lot like the master system to my water sprinkler unit in the house. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's got little gears, and it's overly complicated. Like, I don't... Like, if it didn't have an on-off sticker attached to it, I would not know how to operate that thing. It's crazy.
It's Wolf Security Systems made
Wolf,
it.
yes.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, what was Bad Wolf or Magpie Industry? Anyway, we see a gloved hand turn the burglar alarm off, and then we see Dexter outside. Seemingly, is it Dexter? He's returning to the house with
assume,
bare feet.
Yeah, I think it has to be Dexter. If you know where it's going, I think it has to be Dexter. Odd enough, though, Dexter, or one of the brothers, sees Mrs. Peck watching her soap opera or whatever, and I don't remember him being barefoot, but they said the print when the police come later, they say it's a barefoot.
It's not barefoot. He was in his socks. He had no shoes.
Why
on.
would he be in his socks, though? I don't understand that.
So he wouldn't make any noise.
Really?
But yeah,
that seems really bizarre.
It's been done before. It was in another one that we haven't watched yet. But what I think is important is that we see a gloved hand turn the burglar alarm off first, and then we see him outside creeping past Mrs. Peck's room,
I didn't
which is
pick up on
something
that.
I never picked up on before, having seen this before.
So that would prove there was someone in the house.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Yes,
I did not know. I didn't.
If you're
get
watching carefully, yeah, I never noticed that before. And
So yeah, Uncle Clifford is taking a little bubble bath with his rubber ducky.
in the ugliest bathroom that ever was.
It is. It's the ugliest bathroom. Now, Clifford apparently has a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I think they even say it. I think Michael the lawyer mentions how much he's worth, but it was a lot. And that was the ugliest, greenest bathroom. Mm-hmm. With not gold plated, but almost brass, like over yellowy, brassy handles for the faucets and stuff.
And green green bathtub and green tiles and fake electric candles. Oh, it was just horrible.
Well, I'm sure Julie Newmar would have fixed that after
Absolutely,
the wedding,
yes. And so I think that after Clifford's death, the front gate, not the front gate, but the front door was sold at auction to Ward Fowler. Because I don't know if you noticed this. Actually, the whole whole driveway in the front of the house is the same as Ward, and the front door is the same as Ward Fowler's in Murder. What is Fade into Murder?
Fade into Murder.
Yeah.
Well, there's another correlation to that episode. Which came out first, by the way, this or Fade into Murder?
Oh, this came out. It was only season 2. Fade into Murder.
Interesting.
Was like
Yeah. You know, it's funny when I saw Columbo try to leave when he was leaving. I thought, is he gonna have trouble with the door?
Oh, you see, you lock yourself in here, sir, and you're very smart for doing it. So what follows then is, as well as is the most awkward pre-murder conversation in the ugliest bathroom. Ugh.
Now, uncles do not make it out alive in Columbo. In this episode, yes. So I'm assuming it's Dexter again.
Yeah.
As he walks in, he's got gloves on. You know, Uncle Clifford is obviously naked because he's in his bath.
Yeah.
And he says, "Uncle, I came to give you your wedding present." And you can tell Clifford is a little nervous. He's like, "What is going on? This is weird." And he pulls out a blender. I'm like,
the hand mixer.
Oh, sorry, hand mixer.
A blender is something else.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. With a blender, you can make margaritas. A hand mixer, you cannot. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So, so he pulls out and he slowly plugs it in. I like how there's a electric socket right by the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you need that? Why would you need that?
In case you want to blow dry your hair and take a bath at the same time. Maybe prop your 1970s radio or television set right there. Yeah.
I guess.
I don't think that's up to code. I really don't.
You know, poor Uncle Clifford had to know something weird was going on. It was not going to be good. It was not going to be a happy ending.
He did not look happy. He looked very uncomfortable. I don't know if it was I'm about to die. He sees my pee-pee. I'm not very fond of appliances. But thank you. And Norman/Dexter says, "Oh, you're gonna get a real charge out of it, Uncle, like a Batman villain or something," and then throws the mixer into the tub, and we see a great shot of Uncle Clifford being electrocuted.
Well, and I was going to say that, obviously it wasn't the happy ending that he was expecting, like maybe Robert Kraft with the Patriots. Sorry.
Very good.
Sorry, okay. I had to keep it modern. In 2 years, if you're listening to this podcast, you're like, what? Look it up.
Go back, Look up.
Yeah, you're going to get a charge out of this.
Robert Kraft, rub and tug.
So, there's a lot of puns in this episode. And I immediately, before I realized that Julie Newmar was in this, I'm like, there's more fucking puns in this episode than a 1960s Batman episode. Because, funny enough, there's this has got a lot to do with the old 1960s show. So, a lot of puns. Dexter he's full of puns, as you find out later.
So Julie Newmar shows up.
No! You're skipping over a very important clue.
Oh, okay.
And you like clues. We got to do clues.
Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, the electricity goes out. That's right.
Yeah, the electricity goes out, and Mrs. Peck's TV goes out, and when it comes back on, it's purple, which I guess is a thing with old TVs. I don't remember.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember using TVs like that, but they never changed.
I don't remember them going purple, do you?
Yeah, neither do I. I remember if you took people said, I never tried it, but if you took a magnet and held it up to the screen, that would distort the
That would ruin it.
Yeah. Never tried it, though. Was never brave enough to...
No, probably smart. You didn't. Yeah. But so...
Because I didn't own the TV, and I knew that,
Your parents would kill you.
Yeah.
There would not be a podcast.
Yeah.
I'd be talking by myself.
Yeah.
So the TV goes out. Mrs. Peck has no idea what's going on. She's upset. Oh, I think it's funny to say, though, while she is upset, this is the minimal of upsetness she gets to in this episode. That woman has a temper. This is not someone you want to cross with, and I think Columbo would agree with me on this. But anyways, so shortly after that, then we finally get to meet the future Mrs. Clifford, whatever
Paris.
His name is.
Future Mrs. Paris.
Yeah, Julie Newmar, a beautiful woman, by the way. So she arrives via taxi, and she looks for her future husband. And of course, Mrs. Peck is, I guess, against her going upstairs to see him naked.
Yeah,
is that okay?
I think Mrs.
Like,
Peck
I mean, an old man, and then when you think of an old man in a bath, I mean, it's not going to get any smaller, really.
Yeah. But I don't know. But Julie Newmar does something here that I really, really like. This is a really small gesture thing, and it's obviously Julie. When she comes back downstairs after she finds the bathroom empty, she's trotting down the stairs, and she halfway down the stairs, she jumps on the banister, slides down the banister for like 2 feet, jumps down off the banister, and then she goes as she runs down the remainder of the stairs. And it's almost a very ASMR triggering moment that I really enjoy, and I actually really like her in this. Obviously not actually she is quite attractive. I think that she's more attractive when we see her right before she discovers the dead body than later on. Because she's got some nice little not really cleavage, but nice lower cut blouse there going, little not quite boob it, a lot of boob it. Why am I talking about this?
I don't know.
Anyway, so it's actually quite sad because her and Mrs. Peck find Clifford's dead body on the electric bike downstairs.
which I find funny because she bought him the bike as a present.
Yeah.
And so I think later. I mean, I think we should assume that the Paris brothers probably did that on purpose.
Yes, definitely.
Don't you think they stuck him? Because she purposely bought him this new bicycle, and so she was excited that he was using it as she's running down to the gym, which is in the basement, and he's apparently dead from a heart attack,
right?
From using the present that she gave him.
What I think is interesting is that Clifford has not always been like this. Like, I guess he and Lisa met 3 months ago, apparently, and she turned him into a health nut. And that whole room downstairs was a storage room until he basically turned it into a gym. Because I thought, well, you know what? Even though he's old, he's not quite, in the like, I doubt he would have a heart attack. But if he just took up all this exercising, I guess that makes it a little bit more feasible. He even has one of those machines in his gym where you sit down in it and it closes on you and it steams your body. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And it's got a hole in the top for your head. Someone tried to kill James Bond with one, and Never Say Never Again.
Yes.
I don't know why I remember that, but they're very old-fashioned. I'm just noticing it now because I'm watching it. I also have to make. I'm sorry. This is not on going with the story at all. This whole house desperately needs some carpeting.
Okay.
Because their voices echo throughout all the scenes in the house, and I find it very distracting. They need more furniture or more carpeting, and I think this episode as a whole is a little lacking on set design. I can't help but notice stuff like that. And it's interesting that it's the last episode of season 2, which means it may have been the one they shot after they had already shot their wad in all the previous episodes. They also used the same music from another episode too. So,
it did sound familiar, but I didn't know if that.
Yeah.
I like the idea that there's certain themes that get reused in Columbo, and there's a lot that get reused in this. Or I don't know if this is the originator, but a lot of the plots and themes get reused, and one of them is with Julie Newmar. She's fallen in love with an older man. She doesn't care about the money. She's young and active, and it rejuvenates this older man to maybe live a better life. And that was the exact theme in Last Salute to the Commodore.
Oh yeah. That's
where we see a younger woman that could be his daughter or granddaughter. I'm not complaining. I think it's interesting. I almost wonder if this is kind of that originator, because there's a lot of themes that are used in this one that we see again. Well, that being one of the main ones.
This one is written by Stephen Bochco, who of course was like sort of the script editor at the time. And if you remember in the Ashes to Ashes episode, he's the one that's mentioned in that episode, Stephen Bochco. So, okay, so Columbo on the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Columbo once again is, I guess, woken up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
he's exhausted. Peter Falk pulls off a very that look, the exhausted, like he just got out of bed, and of course he pisses off Mrs. Peck almost immediately.
Oh wait, let's go back.
Oh,
there is something of note before he meets Mrs. Peck. He meets this the sergeant on the case. Can't remember his name is Sergeant.
No, it's not. It's a detective. You're thinking Daphne Coleman.
Yeah, yes. Dabney Coleman. Not Daphne Coleman. Dabney Coleman.
Daphne. I said Daphne.
Daphne, you did?
Didn't I?
I thought you said Daphne.
I thought. I may have.
I'm not going to cut that out.
No, you're not.
So yeah, Dabney Coleman is in this, playing a future Columbo murderer. Well, no, he's not playing a future Columbo murderer, but it's fun because it's Dabney Coleman, and he became fairly big, and he also appears in Columbo in the '90s as a good murderer in a bad episode. So yeah, and he chews. I love the way he chews gum.
You want to talk about ASMR? Holy cow! Like Daphne, chew it louder. that was his direction. Oh my god! Dabney Coleman. Yeah, and it was great to see him. Though he's only in it like a couple of scenes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like the heavy. Like, there are scenes where Columbo's trying to be nice and cordial, but Dabney is kind of the enforcer. It's like, no, this is how we do it. If he warrants what was it? He ordered an autopsy. Yeah, it's like if he orders an autopsy, it's up to him, not up to you. We're going to do it. Kind of backing Columbo, and kind of his, like I said, is heavy. So
it's almost like he knows Columbo's reputation by now and respects him, as opposed to some of the other jerk cops who just get annoyed at Columbo.
Right.
Columbo does not ask for coffee, by the way. He never says, "You got any coffee? Got any coffee?" Nor is he eating eggs.
No eggs or coffee. No.
He goes down.
But he's got a cigar. Yeah.
He goes down. Yeah, he's got a cigar, and he goes downstairs to the crime scene, or to the gym, and in what is the first of a series
of breakdowns. Yeah.
And you know what? Watching this objectively, like for this podcast, like I always thought it was kind of funny, and it still is funny. But really, assuming that it's the 70s and it's okay to smoke inside, I think Mrs. Peck overreacts just a little bit here.
I honestly hope if they do remake Columbo that he still smokes and is oblivious to the rules and the social norms of smoking by today's standards.
Yeah. He accidentally just gets some ashes on the floor, and she, do you do that at your own house? Oh, I'm so sorry. He's so humble, and he's, stop it! You're rubbing it in! She's just like goes,
get him out! Yeah.
And then he stumbles, he breaks a pitcher.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the pitcher. Oh, she loses her mind. I mean, poor thing, because she loved Clifford, and every right, she probably would have been a wife. I mean, she took care of the guy. She took care of the house, and obviously, she was very concerned about the house looking immaculate. So she put probably the majority of her life, her youth, into that house, into working for him. And
33 years, he says later on.
Yeah, and it's really sad because Clifford, the old fart, goes after young Julie Newmar, which I don't blame him. But really, I mean, she's got to feel dejected. Don't you think?
Yeah, I
she's
agree.
Going through a lot.
Think that she feels like her she's due something, and she's never going to get it. And he actually says to her before he dies, "Now, I don't want you to worry, Mrs. Peck. You're still the lady of the house, and Lisa wouldn't have it any other way." So,
while I'm fucking her up the ass. Oh, I'm sorry. Because I'm sorry, Julie Newmar, Lisa. I'm sorry. She's obviously into yoga and doing all these sorts of these fit things that keeps her body tight.
Yes,
I'm not gonna say anymore.
Very tight body, very tight. But you know what?
Yeah, So I'm curious. So was Uncle Clifford? Was he into health and wellness? Because they said like the later that the downstairs in the basement, the workout gym was added like 3 months ago.
Yeah,
it was a recent addition. So was he not into it until he met her?
That's my impression. Yeah, he was not a health nut until he met her. But health cookies.
Well, no, we're gonna get there. No more. Okay, so so Columbo gets booted out of the gym because Mrs. Peck is like, "Get him out!" And so he's like, "Oh, I got to clear my head." So he goes upstairs into the bathroom,
and we see big clue
to wash his face. Yeah. So he washes his face, and as he's doing that, I like how he left the water running. But anyways, not a big thing. Not a big thing really. But he notices that the towel he pulls from by the sink, he looks across the room. The towel, what do you call that?
The bath towel.
With the thing that holds towels. The
towel rack.
Towel rack across the room by the bath.
It's on the $64,000 question. A towel rack, a bath towel, toilet paper.
It's missing a towel.
Uh-huh.
That's weird. Why would it be missing a towel? Because as we find out, Columbo's problem is that he apparently took a bath and then went back downstairs to exercise again. That doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Does not resonate. You can't understand it. Can you understand it, Sean?
I can't understand it.
I can't either.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great clue.
It is a very good clue. The soap is wet. Towel is damp. I think he mentions that.
He does find the wet towel. It's in the hamper when we used to have hampers. But I want to say this: whatever you have to say about this episode, I think this is the best scene in the entire episode tonight.
Okay, why? Why?
Okay, I like the fact that Columbo, up to this point, Columbo is even questioning, why am I here? You know, this is he died of a heart attack on an exercise machine. It's not a homicide case, and I can't remember why Dabney Coleman calls him in, but
it's because
procedure or something.
Julie Newmar said, somebody killed him. They're all after his money or something like that. So
okay.
They're going, as Dabney Coleman says, they're going through the motions.
Yeah. So Columbo, I don't think, believes this is a murder case. So the scene where he when he realizes the wet towel, and things aren't adding up in his head. We're discussing why would he take a bath before, and then going back down to exercise. You see the mechanisms in his mind working. You see the gears. This is what's great about Peter Falk. You see the gears working, or he's, as an actor, he portrays those gears working. And then what I like was we had kind of sloppy, bumbling Columbo who's half awake, spilling his ash all over the place, being kind of apologetic. And then once he realizes that he's got a murder case, he straightens up. He puts his tie on, straightens his tie to his collar. The music, whoever does the music, I can't remember, but the music picks up, and he realizes he's got a murder case now, and he almost literally becomes kind of a buffoon, and he turns into Columbo.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that one scene, like I said, the music, I don't know what they call it, where the music wells up when he makes that realization that this is not what it appears to be. It is, in fact, a murder. It's a beautiful scene. I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes in all of Columbo so far to date.
Okay, interesting. All right. Okay.
Yeah. But now he knows it's a murder case, and he is on the case. He's sharp as a tack, and he's now taking notes, and I love that.
So he goes downstairs, and that's when he meets Dexter Paris. He's there with Mrs. Peck.
Yes.
Hi, how are you doing, sir? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, why the fuck do you have a towel? And I can't remember. Oh, he goes through the explanation of the bath and all that. And Dexter is extremely condescending. He brings him upstairs, and he shows him, the wet bathtub, the towel, and Dexter says, "Well, that's brilliant, Lieutenant. You've just deduced that my uncle took a bath. That's very good." And then he explains why. That's a good clue. And lo and behold, and I think that's when Dabney Coleman comes in and says that there were footprints in the flower bed made by someone with flat feet.
Flat feet, yes. Another foot. I swear to God, there's a foot fetish, shoe fetish thing going on in the series. There's gotta be.
And because Columbo sits down.
Columbo has. Did you know Columbo has excellent arches? By the way, didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah,
and he doesn't know. He doesn't know a single cop that has flat feet.
Can I just say,
like, where did that come from? What is the? I've heard that before.
Can I just say, flat foot is a term for like an amateur detective, not an amateur detective. That would be it, but a newbie, like gumshoe, flat foot.
But why? I don't understand the correlation there.
I actually tried to look it up, and then I was like, well, I got to watch this, and But I wanted to see a picture of a flat foot to see what it looks like because, Steve, I just want to let you all know I have something for once I have something in common with Columbo. I also have excellent arches, according to
congratulations.
Yeah, I do.
I'm looking. I wonder if I have flat feet or not.
Well, why don't you take off your shoes and show me your boots and show me? Let me see where yours are. He tries to get
to the welcome to the Foot Fetish Podcast.
He tries to get Dexter to take off his shoes, and Dexter sees through it. It's okay. Listen, I have flat feet. So boom, we have our suspect.
And then, but I like this. I love this twist. It's a twist. When
wait,
Dexter's talking
what
about
was that? What was that? What do you call it? It's a twist. Is that like what's her name in Scrooge? It's a toaster. It's a twist.
It's a twist. Nothing more, nothing less. So we find out about Norman. Dexter talks about his brother. Now the whole time okay, he's got a brother. What do you do? I mean, we all, majority of people have brothers. Or sister, or some kind of sibling.
Oh, not I. Okay.
So, but we don't think of like identical twin brother, and then that's when Norman comes in, and we see, there's twins. They're two identical twins, and two personality-wise, drastically different twins. Personality-wise, they're completely different, but look identical. Obviously, played by one actor. I think Universal probably got a deal on that.
Well, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, when you're going to have identical twins, you're going to have them played by the same actor. There's no other way to do it. You know what I mean?
What's that Disney movie that came out around the same time with the sisters that were the same?
The Parent Trap.
Parent Trap, yes.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And you know what?
Yeah, how many twins are there out in the world that could have done that role? But no, never mind. Rather use trick photography.
It's done very well, I think. And there's only one shot where they appear together in a two-shot. And that's later on. But so that's Norman. Norman is very reserved. He's a banker.
Yeah, he's more logical. Yeah. So yeah, and Dexter, I don't know if we said earlier, he has a cooking show. Very emotional. Also, I thought it was really fascinating, and I want to give Martin Landau kind of high props for this. It had to be intentional. I can't imagine it not being. But when he was playing Dexter, if you noticed, had a 5 o'clock shadow.
Wow.
His brother did not.
That's absolutely true. That's a good point. I should also.
I wouldn't say it wasn't a 5 o'clock shadow, but he still had a little stubble.
Yeah.
It wasn't as clean cut as Norman.
When Columbo first meets Dexter. In the living room or wherever they are, where he's with Mrs. Peck, the nape of his neck, the hair there is wet, as if he's been sweating. Then they go downstairs to where the scene of the crime is, and his hair is no longer wet. Just saying, I don't know. There are several scenes where Martin Landau's hair seems to be wet.
Interesting.
At the nape of his neck.
So you're saying what I thought was intentional was just
I don't know.
Editing.
I don't know. I got to see it again.
But the fun thing was that each brother blames the other, and obviously an attempt, which we find out later, is an attempt to throw Columbo off, because Columbo doesn't know who to believe. But each one, it seems, each brother's throwing the other under the bus, which I find a little odd. Like, why would they do that? But
it's to throw attention off of each other and sort of, I don't know. Well, they were kind of hoping that they wouldn't have to be in that position to begin with. Because they were kind of hoping that it would just be, everybody would assume it's a heart attack, but
So
Columbo is flummoxed. He thought he had his man because he's got.
Yes, and I love that. I love the look on Columbo's face when he sees the twin brother walk in. He's like, "What?" Like, he just blows his mind. And I love that. I that was great.
Because and it's for us as an audience, that's the same thing because we saw the murder committed, we know who it is, and whoa, they threw us a curveball.
Yeah, in a way, we're kind of like, well, which one's the murderer? And the whole time, I think it's pretty unusual for a Columbo episode where we're not really sure who we know who the murderer. We saw the murderer. We saw who killed the uncle, but we don't know who it was really. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But the next scene is probably the most exciting scene. Is when Columbo goes to Julie Newmar's apartment, and she's working out, doing her yoga. She's got her toes pointed in the air, her tight legs and thighs.
Well, that's great. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. Can you pick up from where I'm leaving off here? I'm really distracted. So yeah. So
well, so was Columbo.
She's amazing. She is. Yeah. Columbo gets.
He's standing like in the doorway. She's out in the balcony so that we could see that she has a balcony. She's got like an apartment or a condo or something, and he's having a conversation with her while she's doing her. I don't know what you'd call that. She's feeding the oxygen to the brain or something, and so he has to ask her permission to come further into the apartment to talk to her, and that's when it's established that the two brothers are the heirs to the estate.
Oh yeah,
and since she didn't marry, he died intestate, which is a fun legal term meaning he died without a will. So it means that the money would go to the wife, or if he didn't,
except they weren't married. So
they weren't married, so it would go to
the
next of kin.
That's why we have Sean on this podcast. He's a lawyer, so he can tell us all these legal terms and
yeah. Well, so there you go.
Let me ask you this legal term, if you don't mind, or legal question. So, did Julie Newmar turn you on?
I liked.
It's a legal question, actually. So as a lawyer.
Okay.
Say?
Let's say there's a Kinsey scale of like 1 to 6 or 0 to 6 or whatever. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I pretty much identify as a gay guy, but I think that I would, if I had to have sex with Julie Newmar or Martin Landau, I would choose Julie Newmar.
Oh, thank God, because that would be disgusting.
He is not an attractive man. He's just, I just picture like if
may he rest in peace. By the way,
if I
she's dead now too, isn't it? Julie Newmar's dead now, right? I think she is.
I think she is. Maybe you're thinking of Eartha Kitt.
She's dead?
Yeah, I think Julie Newmar is still alive.
Oh, well, congratulations, Julie.
Yeah, she's
hope you're listening. Call me.
She was born in 1933, so
Wow.
So
33.
Yeah,
she's old.
And the last thing,
she's looking more like Mrs. Peck now than she is.
But what's really interesting is that she still does the voice of Catwoman in a lot of the Batman cartoons, apparently, because she was the last thing that she worked on was a cartoon of Batman versus Two-Face in 2017. She did Catwoman's voice.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's Eartha Kitt that died. How many women played Catwoman in the TV series?
Well, yeah, in the 60s it was just those two.
I thought there was a third one.
I don't think so, but I don't know which one was the original. I think Eartha Kitt was later. I don't know. Maybe our fans could email us and let us know.
But there's 4 in all, right? There's Eartha Kitt, Julie Newmar, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Halle Berry. Is there another one? Anne Hathaway? Did Anne Hathaway?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I have that movie on Blu-ray and I've never watched it. Should I watch it?
It's horrible. No.
Should I just watch The Dark Knight again? Should I maybe stop talking? Should I just stop talking about Batman?
Yes, please shut up. Please shut up. So, yeah, Julie Newmar, I like how when she's talking to Columbo about her husband-to-be, Clifford, which that was their night. That was going to be their wedding night, which was bizarre. I guess they were going to fly out somewhere romantic. But
no, I think they were just going to go out to dinner, and then they were going to go on a honeymoon. Because the following day would be the wedding, and they were just going to go to dinner, probably in a taxi,
and have
come home.
Crazy sex.
Yeah.
Because she describes her sexual life to Columbo, and the look on Columbo's face is classic. I love it. Because she's young. I mean, it's free love, man. It's like, cool, dude. It's whatever.
Well, yeah. And she too also lives in. This bothered me so much. I'm so sorry. This isn't fair. This is like when we did our Doctor Who episode, and you'd make fun of the sets or the special effects. But her apartment is a really good example of what seems to be a limited budget on this episode, because we are literally shown a corner of her apartment and the outside, except for later on when the lawyer walks in.
I'm pretty sure they reused this set or this location multiple times, because I want to say it's the same set where the Columbo has to interview a prostitute. I can't remember what episode it was.
Oh no, the one with is it Valerie Harper, The Most Crucial Game?
Yes, that's right. Yes. It reminds me of that apartment.
That apartment was really ugly. There was like a porcelain poodle and red and orange. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think that may be the same set, but I could be wrong.
I will note, however, she had a bar stool that my parents owned. My parents had a bar in the basement, and even though they never had parties hardly or served at the bar, but there was a bar stool that, and they owned that bar stool. I should take pictures of this stuff.
Was it a tiki bar? I'm curious.
God, no. It was just
because tiki bars were really popular in the 70s. So
no, this was
like
in
people
the
have
80s,
people have movie rooms or theater rooms today. Back in the 70s, it was tiki bars.
Yeah,
so.
Like Burt Reynolds in Boogie Nights, he had a tiki bar. I do have to note, you keep missing this actor. But when Columbo, and this is actually technically before he goes to interview Julie Newmar, but it really doesn't matter. He goes to talk to Norman at the bank while Norman's counting out money and Columbo's. And when that opening scene, there's a guy standing there next to Norman taking notes, and that's Mike Lally, the guy that has appeared in almost as many Columbo episodes as Peter Falk. You keep missing him. It's like, well, don't you keep noticing this guy?
I don't remember him.
He's older. He's got whitish hair, balding.
Yeah,
got a
I know what you're talking
voice.
about.
Like, he was there, standing next to Norman. I never realized he was in this episode.
He's perfect in that role. Didn't recognize him.
Oh God.
So next scene. Let's move on to the important stuff. So Columbo is now going to the screening of Dexter's live cooking show.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really weird. There are certain scenes where I feel the vibe is that Peter Falk is just kind of I don't know what you call it, just kind of unscripted. I almost like, okay, Peter, you just do what you want.
Yes.
And it's like Peter. It's weird when you watch certain interviews with Peter Falk. He gets giggly. He starts. He laughs at himself a lot.
Yes.
He does that in this.
Yes.
So Dexter, asks. He's looking for a volunteer to help him with cooking a particular recipe. He sees Columbo, and he of course pulls him from the audience and says, "Oh, here's Peter Falk, or here's Columbo, Lieutenant Columbo. He's a friend, not a good friend, but he's going to help me today. With this recipe." And Columbo, like, he goes, he says, like 20 times. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where he asks him a question like, "What do you think, Columbo?" He goes, "Well, what do you think about doing this?" And the audience starts laughing because he says,
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of this kind of unscripted thing. Besides interviews you can see on YouTube, it reminds me a lot of the episode. Funny enough, we were talking about it earlier, Fade to Murder, where Columbo, and I can't remember the name of William Shatner's character,
Ward
at the
Fowler.
end
Ward Fowler. Yeah.
Yeah, they're using a VHS recorder.
Yes.
And Columbo is kind of like, "Well, what do I say?" It's kind of it seems like a very like I said, unscripted scene, just like that. And so,
based on my limited research that I do for this podcast, it was unscripted. Right. Yes. And they
where'd you get that from?
The Columbo File, the book that I have.
Oh, okay.
And they had a great deal of fun doing it. And I don't know if it was technically in front of a live audience, because what an audience that was. That audience, Oprah's got nothing on that audience. No,
you
seriously.
Get a car? You get a car? No, I'm sorry.
There were like 15 people in that audience. What I find interesting is that, it is a great scene. And I'm going to also add something else. I do some cooking sometimes. I'm known to have these.
I was about to ask you, how to separate an egg yolk from the white?
This is how I found out how to do it years ago. Yeah. And I'm going to have to do it in a few days because I'm going to have a dinner party this weekend, and that's how I'm going to do it. That's how you separate. You flip it around like that, and yeah, I learned how to do that from this episode. So, I can't remember what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, it's unfortunate that this scene does not begin with Columbo sort of stumbling over a set or knocking a light down or something like that, or walking.
Oh yes,
hot
good
set.
point.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those in a long time. I think that the swinging wheels have selected those on purpose to get them out of the way for some. I don't know, but what I find interesting is that Columbo kind of assumes that Norman does not have a motive because, as Norman points out to him, he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have kids, he's a vice president of a bank. He already has plenty of his own money. Mm-hmm. So Columbo then assumes that this must mean that Dexter doesn't have any money, but he's a TV star.
He surely has money.
Yeah, he's got to have money.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting that we learn that Columbo is... I don't know if it's intentional with Columbo or if it's a fault, but Columbo is not very good at... When he'll ask a question, he's asking a leading question in regards to, in this case, the blender. Like, hey, do you recommend
a mixer? It's a mixer.
A mixer blender. I'm sorry, I can't help it.
A blender.
Do you recommend it? Yeah.
The blender is the appliance that he puts the egg yolks in.
Oh, fine. So yes, do you recommend an appliance? Where you kind of see where Columbo's going with it, and even the supposed killer sees where Columbo's going with it, and I think it's funny that we also learned that Mrs. Columbo is not a very good cook.
Yeah.
Which, sir, if we were to believe, if we were to believe that Mrs. Columbo is canon, according to the intro, she's a great cook. She's great at theater arts. She's a homemaker. She what else does she do? She's a reporter. She's basically everything perfect, right? I guess Mrs. Columbo in this episode is not a good cook.
Okay, so
and she's not a very clean person because Mrs. Peck even says something to the effect that you're a slob. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
we learned a lot about this.
I think that we're
this quote unquote Mrs. Columbo.
I think that we're going to assume that Mrs. Columbo is not canon. I think you and I are both on the same page about that.
Wait. So are you? Just to clarify, you're talking about the show, not the character.
Correct. The show, not the character.
Okay. Damn.
And we can.
I want to convince you that I'm right.
You will
That's my goal. By the end of this podcast, this series of podcasts that we do, I want to convince you otherwise.
Okay, I have seen every episode of Columbo multiple times, and you are not going to be able to convince me that Mrs. Columbo does not exist. So, I'm just saying that right now. This is all a futile exercise.
How many more episodes do I have to convince you?
20-something. I'm just saying this because
I've got another year. I can convince you otherwise.
It's a futile exercise. Excuse me.
Okay, so never mind. Moving on.
You sent the drug you're looking for.
So during this conversation, Columbo basically says, Dexter, I pretty much think you're the killer. Everything points to you. You have a motive. It makes sense that you were the one. And when Dexter says, well, what about my brother Norman? Well, he's like, well, Norman doesn't have really a motive. He's a successful banker.
Right.
Norman even says, if I wanted to steal, I would embezzle. It'd be easier.
Yeah. Why didn't he do that then instead of killing his uncle?
Right.
I guess he thought
probably because he'd be the primary suspect if it was embezzlement. But anyway,
that's true.
So Columbo thinks he pretty much hones in on Dexter, and Dexter says, "Well, let me take you to where Norman goes." He said he was going to San Francisco, but really not. He's got every Wednesday he goes to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a problem. Norman clearly has a problem.
Oh yeah, every Wednesday, rain, sleet, sick, health, whatever. Norman's there to gamble.
Yeah,
that is
mostly in sickness, as Dexter says, and Norman owes, I think it's $30,500 or $38,500.
It was a lot. It was a lot of money.
I thought, how much would that be in 2019 money? And that would involve, opening up the computer and looking it up and blah 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 and dealing with the slowness of. I didn't look it up. No, I was too lazy to look it up. I just wanted to keep watching this, but
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's probably. I bet you it's not quite $1 million, but probably in the hundreds of thousands. I'll bet you. So, but my question to the owners or the runners of the casino: why would you let somebody like that keep gambling if they owe you money? Like,
I'm thinking because he can do them favors, maybe in the banking industry. I bet you.
Okay, all right. I can
Don't
see
you think?
that.
Maybe.
I guess so. Yeah. All right.
He can loan those people money for opening more casinos or something. I don't know.
Okay, I'll just roll with it, like Norman did, playing dice. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
So we got to bring the lawyer back in here. The lawyer becomes key at one point.
And do you recognize the guy who's playing the lawyer, by the way?
Yes, he has been in Columbo before.
He has. Yes. What episodes?
He was in an episode called Old Fashioned Murder that we haven't done yet, where he plays the victim. He was in another one, though, that I don't remember the name of, and I couldn't think of what it was. Do you know?
No.
Oh,
I
Jesus
recognize.
Christ.
I recognize him from the 1970s, maybe early 1980s TV show Buck Rogers.
Mm.
He was in that.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was probably in a lot more. In the last thing he wants to be recognized is being in is Buck Rogers. But anyways, with Gil, what was his name? Who played Buck Rogers? Gil.
I don't know.
Shit, I'm gonna look it up.
Gil shit.
No. You never watched the Buck Rogers show?
I did when I was little. I remember the Twiggy and I remember the dog and
yeah.
And let's see.
That wasn't a dog. It was the Twiggy, who was played by Mel Blanc, the guy who did Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, but no, didn't Buck Rogers have a dog too? He had a dog.
No.
It was like wasn't a normal dog. It was a big dog.
You're thinking of Doctor Who.
No, it was I had an action figure. It had to be. Maybe it was Battlestar Galactica. No, I'm looking this up too. You're just a big dirty bird who doesn't know. Okay, Buck Rogers dog.
Well, Wilfred Hyde White was in it.
Oh, he's been in a couple Columbos.
Yeah, he's been in Columbo.
Yeah, this is Buck Rogers had a dog. I don't know. Never mind.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
You're thinking of Battlestar Galactica.
No, I will. I'm going to send you
Muffy or something.
See, this is why we get low ratings on iTunes. No, I'm just kidding. No,
it's my fault.
I'm going to send you a picture of Buck Rogers' dog on your phone right now, if I can remember how to. There we go. Okay, here.
Gil Gerard was Buck Rogers.
Okay.
Erin Gray, another beautiful woman.
You're going to feel so foolish when you see this. I'm going to send you another picture that I found online that I posted on Facebook that you never go to.
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis was in Buck Rogers.
Okay.
All right, I got your... Are you going to edit this?
Yeah, I probably will.
No, that's that's Muffin or whatever from Battlestar Galactica.
I just Googled Buck Rogers' dog and that came up. Okay.
But that's from Battlestar. Okay, back to Columbo.
I don't. Okay, all right.
I think we talked about Battlestar Galactica last time too.
We did. No, I'm going.
Okay. So we're going back. So Columbo now goes to the lawyer. Apparently, I guess they're getting ready to auction off Clifford's items, his valuable items. He's got a lot of high value art collectibles. So the lawyer's there. I don't know for what purpose. You're a lawyer, so you tell me why he's there. But he's talking to the lawyer, and and he's starting to find
Wait,
out.
I'm sorry.
More.
What? I'm still thinking about Buck Rogers. I'm looking.
Jesus.
Fucking shit up here. I can't stop. It drives me crazy. Oh no, you're right. It's Muffet too. Gosh darn it. Okay.
I told you.
All right, you're right. Yeah, I
Please
shouldn't have.
edit that.
I shouldn't have entered into a battle of wits unarmed, because you know way more about Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica than I do.
That's not very much, by the way. So,
well, somebody posted somebody had an article about cute robots from TV shows. So I was going through them all and found a lot of things that I'd forgotten about. K9, the owl from Clash the Titans.
back to Columbo. Columbo is he's viewing these items that are being auctioned off or getting ready for sale. And he's talking to the lawyer. He's kind of getting an idea about the brothers, like what each one's like and what their fallacies are. Obviously, the lawyer knows a lot more than he's telling.
Right.
But Columbo sees this beautiful silver bowl, and he thinks it's an ashtray. Which, when he puts his ashes, because he's smoking a cigar, he puts his ashes in that silver bowl. That sends Mrs. Peck into another hissy fit.
Oh, psychotic frenzy.
Loses her mind. You know, I don't know if it's just overacting or perfectly well acted. It's just... I mean, she loses her shit, basically.
And she brings it to the kitchen to clean it off, and he goes and sees her in the kitchen. He gives her a heartfelt apology. He says, "I'm really sorry, ma'am. I'm untidy. I'm that way. I can't help it. Blah, 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 blah." And then she says, "Mr. Columbo, I hope that you could sit down and have a glass of milk and enjoy a plate of Mr. Paris's favorite health cookies." And then my favorite line of the whole show is, "Well, thank you very much. I'm very fond of health cookies."
Has said nobody ever.
Yeah! What the fuck are health cookies? I mean, are we just...
I don't know.
They're just
like... Is it like granola bars or something? I'm not real sure.
It's disgusting. I don't want health cookies. I'd rather have like...
why even eat them?
Yeah,
like, don't even eat them.
Could we just have some celery sticks, maybe? Or some tea?
I'd rather have... Yeah.
Anyway, that's okay.
I know you said, I think I'm extremely fond of health cookies.
So, but it's key because she gives him a clue that the night of the murder, the lights went off for about 15-20 seconds.
I like that the fact that she is the reason for stalling this investigation.
Yes. And the
man that she obviously loves, she is blocking that murder case. Mm-hmm. I just find that fascinating.
And so then they're in her room, which I was surprised. I thought they were going to continue the conversation in the kitchen, but they move it to her room. And she explains that the TV turned purple. He's like, "Well, I can fix that. I went to the supermarket and I could see what's coming." And I'm thinking to myself, "Don't do it, Columbo. Don't do it." He tries to fix her TV and he breaks the knob off and she
she's
loses
like,
it again.
"Out!"
I just really think
she calls him like in the 5 minutes here. She calls him a bum. And she, like, yelling, "You're a bum," and then yelling, "Get out!" Like, she's not having it with him. And it's a recurring, I don't know, it's funny, but it's a recurring situation where he just consistently pisses her off.
I think his reaction is funnier than her screaming that he's so terrified of her, because there's earlier in the episode, when they're in the bathroom, he says to her, "Mrs. Peck, are you sure that you turned the burglar alarm?" "Yes, you are. I can tell you are." "Okay, we'll move on."
Because the look on her face, she was getting so angry with him. She does not like Columbo, and it's funny because that's another recurring theme. I don't know if it begins here. I don't think it does, but a recurring theme with Columbo is he does not get along with the help. So the maids, the cleaning people do not like him, especially because he's smoking a cigar. He's, they get upset with him because of that.
Well,
and so
I think sometimes he does get along with them. I know. I can think of a couple 90s episodes.
But there's so many scenes where he
Yeah.
pisses them off. I don't know if this is the first episode, but I mean, shoot.
There was
It is a recurring
Exercise in Fatality where he's walking around and after the guy polished the floor and there were shoe marks on the floor and the guy's like, "Would you tell your men not to walk all over the floor?" And
Yeah, it's
there's
like Columbo's fault.
there's the janitor from Columbo Goes to College. He doesn't even like a cigarette smoke. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
But
So
yeah, so now at this point we learn that there actually is a will, a last will and testament of Clifford Paris, and he is leaving absolutely everything to Julie Newmar, which, hey, can you blame him? But nobody really knows about it. The only people that know about it are the deceased Clifford Paris, his lawyer from Buck Rogers, and Julie Newmar, Catwoman. So those are only three people are aware of this. And the lawyer, Michael, can't think of his last name, takes advantage of the situation. He wants to, I guess, be maintained as the family lawyer, as the business manager of the family.
a consultant, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's his motive. He figures he's in a situation he can, I guess, make a little coin on the side. So my question to you, since you're a lawyer, is this something you would do?
Absolutely not. This is extremely unethical, and he could get disbarred. What he does is he goes to Dexter and Norman and says, "Hey, if I went to Lisa and convinced her to give me her copy of the will, we could just destroy the will, and then everything would go to you guys." So what he's doing is he's turning around and doing what his dead client didn't want him to do, which is completely unethical and just wrong, and he totally would be disbarred. There would be no more law license. How
much money do you think was on the line for him? Like, would it have been worth it?
No, because it's just two more clients. I mean, what kind of... okay, we're talking about an estate here, but we're talking, once Clifford is dead, there's going to be a period where the estate goes into escrow or probate or whatever, and then after maybe a year or so, it's going to be a moot issue. The money will go to the nephews, and that's it. Well,
and you think he would be more willing to convince Julie Newmar or whatever, Lisa, convince her to stick with him? Would be one client, admittedly, but it would be an easy client who would be able to manipulate her way easier than the two brothers.
There's also a problem in that if he got her to give him her copy of the will, she could then challenge it in probate court, saying that, hey, there was a will, he left everything to me, and the lawyer took the will away from me. And he's also assuming that she didn't make any copies of it, which, quite frankly, I don't see why she would make copies of it, especially in 1970 whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's not like a FedEx store.
Exactly. There's not. I don't know where. I think people would have to go to a library to make copies or something, or if they worked in an office. I don't even know what this woman does for a living. If she does it for anything. But I think that he assumed that she would not challenge. No, I think I would. That's a big assumption to make, but it doesn't make any sense for him to do that because he would be gaining two clients. He could be Dexter's agent, and then he could also be Norman's lawyer, and I don't see where it's worth that to risk your career. He's going to assume that Julie Newmar isn't going to challenge the intestate estate in probate court. It was not a wise move. I don't know that it was worth it. I think that he should have just moved on. I think the story seems to think that Michael was his only occupation was Clifford's lawyer, and I think there are lawyers like that where maybe they work for like I think at one point he says to Clifford before he when he leaves in the beginning, he goes, okay, we're going to talk about those oil leases. You know, there are lawyers that work for multi-millionaires solely. You know, like, say, Donald Trump, Michael Cohen, that type of thing. But once that person dies, maybe they don't have a job. I don't know if it was that kind of a relationship. That didn't make any sense to me as a lawyer view, from a lawyer viewpoint. And even if without a lawyer viewpoint, I don't, you know, what prevents her from coming out and saying, hey, the money's mine. But this is where something really fucking evil happens in the story that it's way beyond, it goes, you know, we're already evil because we've killed our uncle. Now we're going to go a step further, and we're going to go to his fiance's apartment, throw her off the balcony after an ensuing struggle, which we don't see, and leave the will there for the lawyer to show up later on, for Michael to show up later on, have the will, and then be confronted by the police. So what our murderer does is he kills Lisa, which is a shame, it's sad, and a grisly murder that we see off screen, or that we don't see, and he frames the lawyer because he leaves the will there on the coffee table at the scene of the crime when the lawyer shows up. I don't quite understand what the purpose was of leaving a copy of the will that left the fortune to Lisa at the scene of the crime, though. I don't understand that. Because after that, Michael goes to the police department. He explains everything to the police.
Basically, it's the one thing Columbo needs. He needs a confession from somebody what's going on. And it just pushes that agenda forward. So it's kind of weird. Why did they go out of the? I agree.
I know why they killed Lisa, but why would they leave a copy of the will, leaving the money to Lisa at the scene of the crime?
Well, they had to kill Lisa because when they found out that Lisa was the sole inheritance, I mean, they had to kill her. Yeah,
because she knew about it. Therefore, she's got to be eliminated.
She had to be, because they were after the money all along. So they, apparently Julie Newmar is pushed off her balcony and dead, which is
kind of sad.
Yeah.
But this pretty much clinches it for Columbo. And again,
at this point, I think it's an hour and a half. This episode, I think at this point we're at an hour and 10 minutes. So this pretty much, I think this is solidifying the case for Columbo.
And we've also seen him running around the house with a stopwatch while Mrs. Peck looks on in bewilderment.
No, she's not looking on. She's yelling at him.
yeah.
Okay,
so go ahead.
Columbo's trying to figure out is how, because obviously the power went off, which, as we know, someone dropped an appliance, not a blender, but a mixer, into the bathtub. It would have shorted out the system, caused the fuse breaker to pop, and so it would need a fuse. So Columbo's trying to figure out timing, going from that moment to running down to replacing the fuse was, I forgot how many, like 75 seconds?
67 seconds.
Oh, thank you.
I wrote it down. 67.
Obviously not a number we're reviewing tonight. But
no, I know what number that's going to be. But. So
Columbo realizes that there's no way. So somebody obviously replaced the fuse, but it would have been in a shorter amount of time, literally in seconds. I mean, when I say seconds, like tens of seconds, as opposed to the 70 whatever you just said. So that's when I think Columbo realizes there was not one murderer, there's two. And who's at the top? So, Sean, do you think this is the moment when he starts timing that? Is that the moment where he realizes it's both brothers?
Oh, obviously, because that's the killer clue at the end. That's the gotcha clue.
Yeah.
I think they capitulate quite easily, though. I mean, if what he's proving is that two people killed the guy. Oh, and also he explains that, he pretends to be a dead body in the bathtub, and he asks Norman, "Could you please lift me out of the bathtub?" And he can't do it. Okay, so two people must have hauled him out of the bathtub and carried him downstairs.
Right. It would have been slippery and it was wet. Yeah.
And and good thing Mrs. Peck never tore her eyes from the television to, not watch her.
Well, I like, so she's watching a soap opera, which, funny enough, is a completely different episode because it has different actors. And they're saying the same lines from the beginning of this episode, which is great. I'm agreeing at this, whatever.
They're lawyers instead of doctors this time, yeah.
Right. And so when Columbo's testing how fast the electricity goes out, how fast he can get down to the basement to replace the fuse, the TV goes out. And when it comes back on, it's purple. She just had it fixed. So now the screen is back to purple. She goes, "Purple? I'll kill him!"
I'll kill him! And what's so funny is that at the beginning on the DVD, it's like they show you scenes from Columbo, and they show you Julie Newmar's dead body from the view of the balcony, her body, and they have the audio over of, "I'll kill him!" So you think it's like somebody making a real threat instead of Mrs.
No, the
Peck
only thing that stuck out
bitching.
in my mind during that preview of the episode was "Can you follow me to the bathroom?"
Will you come with me to the bathroom? Yeah.
Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
So, anyways, so he does ask, he does have both brothers. The cops are coming. He says, "Do you mind coming with me to the bathroom?" And he goes over. Obviously, not one person could pick up the body, dress him, dry him, get him downstairs, replace the fuse box. It had to be a at least two-person scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we find out that both brothers, the twin brothers, were in cahoots with each other, and they both committed the crime. Right. But... Oh, I'm sorry, about to say something. What were we going to say?
I'm going to say, the first time that you watched this, because you watched this before watching it for this episode, did you figure that out? Did you think that was going to be the obvious conclusion?
No. I figured it was one brother. And
really?
It was,
okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
No, it was, like I said, it was a really fun twist. Okay. But then to learn both actually were, in fact. But my thing to you is this. So, one brother, I mean, I guess this is for the courts, the LA courts to decide, but one brother was an accessory and one brother was the killer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know which one was which.
Okay, see, I have a problem with this question. Wait, actually, I have a problem with something that he says. Mrs. Peck in the closing scene says, "Well, I saw Dexter drive off." Mm-hmm. And Columbo says, "Oh, you didn't see Dexter drive off, you saw Norman drive off." Which means that Norman was stashed in the house the whole time. And then he drove off. And then, according to what we see, Dexter's the one that turns the burglar alarm off. Norman comes inside. Norman's the one, tiptoeing in the tulips outside Mrs. Peck's room. So they're both in the house. I don't know which one actually killed him, which one actually threw, but it doesn't matter. They would both be charged for the same crime. It's murder in the first degree for both. It doesn't matter who actually pulled the trigger, so to speak, since they were working. It's a conspiracy to commit murder or a conspiracy to murder in the first degree. It doesn't matter.
So one of my favorite questions we haven't really done in the last couple of episodes was, did they actually serve the time? Because we always joke like, oh, this person was a high-powered lawyer, they would have gotten off, or they wouldn't have, like, maybe really, Columbo was able to get them to court, but they would have gotten off in some fashion. Do you think that those brothers served time?
No.
You don't?
No.
Wow, this was the first case where I actually thought they did actually serve time. So why do you think they would have gotten off?
Okay, they had a really obvious motive. I think they also obviously had an obvious motive for killing Lisa, but there was no proof that Lisa was murdered, other than the fact that there was a vase overturned on her coffee table. I think
they would have been convicted of the murder of their uncle, though, right?
No, because I think that what Columbo did was he proved that the murder was committed by two people. And for that matter, it could have been Dexter and his girlfriend that we don't know about, or Norman and his boyfriend that we don't know about, because Norman is totally gay. I
never got that. Okay.
I just thought of that just now. I don't know. I don't really care if he's gay or not, but
I did not get that at all.
Proving that it's two people, the most obvious solution is that it's the two brothers, but he didn't prove that it's the two brothers. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? He proved that it's two people. It's like if Clifford died of a heart attack. He can prove it's murder after a while. Does that mean automatically that Dexter is the murderer? And that ends the show if Norman doesn't exist? Because remember, we didn't know that Norman existed. So I don't buy the ending. I think it's... but for the fact that Norman almost confesses and then Dexter tells him to shut up! I think you're going to like this one a lot more than I do, Steve. But it doesn't... If you pull it apart and say, okay, are they going to actually serve time? Are they going to be convicted? They'll be indicted probably, but will they be convicted? In this case, no. I think they're going free.
Oh, I totally disagree.
Really?
Okay, my next question to you then. Who's the better cook? Dexter Paris or Paul Gerard?
Oh, Paul Gerard, please. Please. Oh, please. This actually goes into one of my problems with the episode. Paul Gerard, we actually see him cooking, and we see him actually cooking good things.
It's because he has an accent.
No.
Yeah.
All we see Dexter cooking is he cooks some pastries, and he helps Columbo make some hollandaise sauce in a blender. That, by the way, is a blender, not a mixer. He puts the yolks in
So
the blender.
Confused right now.
Well, you must not cook for your family, but okay. So... that's okay. We're going to have a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to rate this thing, and we're going to have a discussion probably as a result. Okay?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Ah, yes, Anne Boleyn. I always had a weakness for the royal bloodline.
He is the king of his kind.
Jack the Ripper. They never did discover his true identity, did they?
And for 500 years, he has stalked the living.
Would you care to join me for a little fight after the interview?
Martin Landau is the terrifying, the erotic, the original Dracula.
Just my type. Oh, positive.
Okay, and we're back. All right.
Okay. So I picked a number. Now this number has been generated from this particular episode, and it's always fun that you try to guess what number I've honed in on. And sir, what would you like to think I picked?
Well, I said 47 because that's the number of minutes that Norman had to catch his plane to San Francisco. San Francisco
Right.
in quotes.
No, that's not it.
No? Okay.
And you, what else? What other number you think I'm going to
30,500 because that's how much Norman owed to the casino.
Wow, that's a lot of money. I wonder what that would be in today's dollars. But no, that is not the number. Should I go and tell you?
I'm going to say... Wait. I'm not done. I'm going to say purple.
The sadist in me almost thought about that one. That's very clever. I almost was going to ask you to rate it out of purple.
Oh, you fucker.
But that wouldn't make much sense, now would it? So I did not pick purple. As a matter of fact, what I did pick was just as obscure and obnoxious as the color purple.
Great.
I'm going to ask you to rate. I believe I went first last time, so you go first this time. I would, Sean, ask you to rate this. How would you rate this 1 out of a half cup of butter?
All right. I really have a lot of mixed thoughts about this one. This one is a beloved episode of a lot of Columbo fans. The first time I saw it, I didn't like it that much because it didn't seem to have the same veneer that most Columbo episodes had. I already talked about the studio bound and, lack of set design, and that's not really important. You see a difference later on in the series, and the last season you see a lot of difference, but you shouldn't really judge it on that. I think I don't like that this is a gimmicky episode. Like, we see the murder, and then we find out that there are twin brothers, and which one of the twin brothers did it. And there's something that this is it. To me, an ideal Columbo episode centers around the murderer's occupation. Okay. And usually the method of the murder, or the way that Columbo discovers that he or she is the murderer, is through something having to do with the occupation. Okay, so we have a banker, and we have the host of a cooking show. Probably a very lame cooking show. I think the name of the show was like the Paradise of Paris or something like that. I like Martin Landau as this. I think he did an excellent job, but I don't like how the gimmicky bit moved it away from developing these characters into establishing the fact that this was, hey, it's both of them together. And I think that this episode deserved a longer, like 2-hour release instead of an hour and a half. We see Norman in 2 scenes, and he's basically one of the murderers. Well, he is one of the murderers. Okay. Another thing that bothered me after watching it this time, I never realized it before, is that why didn't they just drown him in the tub? But then I realized, well, wait, if they drowned him in the tub, well, first of all, that's harder, and also there would still have to be 2 of them to move him from the tub to the gym downstairs. However,
I think their initial intent was to make it look like a heart attack.
Yeah. And however, I do appreciate everything that this episode does. So I am going to give this out of half a cup of butter, melted butter.
It's like butter.
I'm not going to give it a quarter cup of butter. I'm going to give it like 1/3 of a cup of butter. I think that there's a lot better Columbo out there. You know what? I think that this one needs some like boosting. Okay, not only the length, but I could see this one being a really good 90s episode. Okay, let me, like A Bird in the Hand from the 90s was done a lot better than this was. And and Mrs. Peck. Everything that Mrs. Peck does is completely unreasonable and unrealistic. What's funny about the Mrs. Peck scenes is Columbo's reaction, not Mrs. Peck herself. You said earlier that it's either brilliant acting or overacting. I don't know which. I think it's overacting. And I'm really sad to say that I am not a fan of this episode as much as everybody else is. And wow. that goes along with a Stitch in Crime and Identity Crisis for me. For some reason, I don't get it. But it needed some... I wish that it would have been made later in the series because it would have been a lot more polished. And that's what this episode deserved. And also, I really, for some fucking reason, Martin Landau needed a haircut in this. I don't care who he's playing, Dexter or Norman. Something about his hair just seemed off. He didn't have the same hairstyle as Bernie Sanders, but I was thinking the same thing. Like, Jesus Christ, cut your hair. Just trim it a little. Get rid of the sideburn. Get rid of the curly stuff at the back. So I suspect that you are going to have a lot more nice things to say about this, so you go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. What was your final score?
2/3 of a cup of butter.
2/3.
Are you writing this down?
Yes.
Because I don't know. Are you keeping a log of this?
Well, it's not something I'm ever going to throw in your face at the end of this series of podcasts. Anyways, so yes, I agree with what you say. I think you've got some very good points. However, I would like to say that I think like I said, is it overacting? Is it perfectly acted? I can't tell you. But Mrs. Peck, I loved her. Every time she saw Columbo, she would yell at him, "You bum, get out!" Yeah. I mean, she just did not like him, and it was funny because there was a scene where Columbo is timing how fast he can get down to the basement to replace a fuse, and she's yelling at him as he's going down the stairs. He goes, never mind. He's like, leave me alone. He's trying to focus her out because she is relentless. She just does not like Columbo.
She's a Doberman, man. She's like a
yeah. And there's a scene where he comes in, like you said earlier, where he says, "I'm sorry, I don't know what I've done. I realize I'm a messy person. I'm not married." So therefore, I completely understand. Maybe just
I was taking a drink there, so I couldn't. He did not say I'm not married. So, he didn't say that.
But he apologizes, and there's a moment where she kind of accepts him.
Yeah.
Like she even says, "I realize you're a good police officer, and I realize that." But it picks right back up where every time the TV goes out, it's Columbo, and he has broken that TV like 3 times over. And it just annoys her to no end. And it's funny. It's very humorous. I think Martin Landau, I think he's great. I liked that I did not know who the murderer was. We saw the murder. We saw who the killer was, as all Columbo. We get to see that. But in this case, I remember watching this for the first time, not knowing which brother it was. And each brother was throwing the other under the bus. One was saying, "Oh, he's on his TV show, but he owes a lot or he doesn't have much money, so financially he has a lot to gain." The other one was saying, "Well, you know what? He's a successful banker. He owes this casino a lot of money. He's got a gambling problem. That's his, So, which one was it? Who knows?" And you're under the assumption that one is innocent, one is guilty. Until we find out at the end that both were actually in cahoots with each other, and they both killed their uncle, which is sad.
Can I say something? I know I always interrupt your review before you actually. Yeah. There's something I want to say, and this was said. One of the other Columbo podcasts, just one more thing, is winding down, and they were talking about they had sort of like a final episode where they talked about, or not one of the final, but penultimate episode where they like the best Columbo murderers, and they mentioned this as a runner-up because this could have been done so hokily, where there's twin brothers, like they could have really overdone it. Like one was like a hammy clown, wow, and the other one was just this really conservative. It's not like that at all. They're not. That is sort of like the core, but they really don't act like that, and you can tell when Martin Landau is playing one or the other. It's really actually well done.
I think Martin Landau did a great job.
He did. He did.
2 completely different characters. Like I said earlier, one is more logical, business-minded. The other one's more emotional.
One's left brain, one's right brain.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. I like the guy who played the lawyer. I like the added, while it didn't make much sense after we discussed it just now, but I like when watching it the fact that was another little added thing to the story or to the plot, where he was willing to get the will from Julie Newmar, and he was thinking, I almost want to say now it's more of a distraction, but I thought it was a good distraction. I enjoyed it.
Yes, I kind of agree.
With Lisa, Julie Newmar, aka Julie Newmar, I thought she was fun. It was more of a she wasn't really in it, but maybe a few scenes. But what she did do, what she did contribute was really good. I enjoyed it. So I think this is a really good Columbo episode. And as you accurately predicted earlier, I did like this a lot. I'm not going to say it's the best Columbo episode, but it's darn good. It's
Okay.
Like I said, if it didn't have the twin brother part of it where you're guessing which brother, which is what I did the first time I watched, it would have maybe not gotten such a high score, but I give it a full half cup of parquet butter or whatever. I think this is a great classic Columbo episode.
So you give you give it the full cup of butter, which means
half
cup of butter. So you give give it 100% basically.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And,
wow.
And if anybody's wondering where the half cup of butter comes from, that's the scene where Columbo is on the cooking show, and Dexter is going to melt a half cup of butter. So I think it's a really good episode. Not my favorite, but a really good one.
So, okay. All right. Before we reveal what we're going to talk about next time from the 90s, we're going to read some feedback. This is the part, according to Apple Podcast Analytics, where everybody turns the podcast off. So Barbara A. wrote in about Johnny Carson. The last episode of our last season, we talked about Forgotten Lady and the fact that the maid and the butler were watching Johnny Carson, and he says, "Have a good weekend, everybody," when it was a Thursday night. And she writes, regarding your comments regarding Johnny Carson saying "have a good weekend" on a Thursday, Johnny used to take Fridays off and only was live Monday through Thursday, and that's from your Forgotten Lady episode. That's good to know. That's awesome.
Thank you
for that, Barbara. Okay, so our next one is from Greg. So Greg writes, "I love your witty and entertaining podcasts, and I have uploaded several of the best to YouTube to potentially help your audience. Good news is that at least one of the podcasts has almost 3,000 views. Bad news is that the average listener only stays tuned for a few minutes. All but 2 likes were from me, and here are the recent comments I have received, which I have removed after some choice words to the commenters who apparently do not realize what the meaning of a podcast is. This is what they said about our podcast episodes on iTunes."
Okay.
Somebody commented, "Oh my God, remove this crap. Sad, upload, wanker." Is that the British Donald Trump on Twitter? Remove this. Sad, upload, not doing it. Okay. Somebody else commented, "Why don't show the episode? Who needs your blah, blah, blah?"
I don't know. Good question. I have no idea.
Somebody else said, "How about if we see this video instead of hearing it?" Okay, so yeah, you're not going to see us. No, sorry. I heard in one of your podcasts that Steve sometimes gets a kick out of negative feedback. Well, here is some from some asinine commentators. There have been more than this that I have removed. These were the ones received in the last week. Like Sean said, folks, we do this for entertainment value, not like we get compensated for this. So I kind of like that.
Not at all.
So yeah, so if you for some reason cannot access our podcast through the your usual way of downloading podcasts, you can look for it on YouTube. There are 2 more. They're both short. This is from Jay Harding. That's not his first name. It's just initial J Harding. "Hello, really enjoying your podcasts. I love the way you discuss the episodes together with the banter. Looking forward to you discussing Negative Reaction, which is in my top 5. That's the one with Dick Van Dyke. Do you think Columbo would have been a
we haven't reviewed that one yet?
Oh my God, here we go again. Every time I mention it, you're like, we didn't watch that for this
seen
yet?
It. I've watched it 5 times.
We haven't done it yet? No, we haven't done it yet.
We
haven't done it yet.
Sorry.
Do you think Columbo would have been a great lawyer had he pursued that career?
I don't think so.
No,
You?
I don't think so. I don't think so. He may have been a great trial lawyer, but being a really good lawyer involves a lot of organization. And
He'd be so like, it'd be like watching a tennis game. It'd be he'd be all over the place.
Yeah, he'd have to have a really good organized paralegal like Kate behind him. But if he had his shit together, he'd be great in a courtroom. There's a lot of lawyers who are like Columbo, actually. Okay, Stephen C. This is my favorite, Steve. This is my favorite. Hello, Sean and Steve. Hope this finds you well. I have two somewhat facetious questions. Facetious. They're facetious, Steve. They're facetious. Number one.
Okay.
Do you think it's Sean's dad leaving all those reviews complaining about the language, about cock-hungry sluts?
That's probably.
Okay, well, I'm going to say no, it's not, because my dad has an iPhone, but he doesn't know how the fuck to use it. He knows how to send. He knows how
I'm
to
about
play.
to say he doesn't know how to work the internet. So
He doesn't know how to work the internet. He doesn't know how to order something from Amazon. He uses it to play Words with Friends, check the weather, and check the time. That's it.
in Pornhub.
Yeah. Probably Pornhub. That's right. I thought you said important enough. You said Pornhub. I don't like Pornhub. X videos is the way to go.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry. My lungs are hurting. I'm laughing.
Okay, so
hard.
number
Go on.
two. Number two. You're not going to like this. Steve mentioned his wife. Is she fictional? She and Mrs. Columbo could start a fake wives club.
No, I'm pretty sure she's not.
I can confirm that
Yes,
she is
Sean's
not
met her.
fictional. She is not
Yeah.
fictional. In fact, during the break,
But I
from
can
this-
confirm. I confirm Sean's wife is fictional.
And he says, "Keep up the good work and the foul fucking language." Steve,
Oh, wow.
aka Doc Pinko.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry. He goes by the Twitter handle Doc Pinko. On
Oh,
Twitter,
I
and
thought it was me.
I've
Okay.
talked to him on there a little bit. I do want to read one more thing. There was a iTunes rating. So I'm just gonna come clean. This is gonna be like a congressional hearing. There was somebody that left a review, a 1-star review in December. Too much profanity, and we're recording this in March, by the way.
Well, yeah.
And then in February, they left another one. Bad. They don't do their homework. Too much profanity.
Okay.
So then somebody left just.
You know, I just want to say, compared to the other podcasts we did, this is pretty mild.
Yeah, I counted 2 fucks, not counting the email that we've said during this. I don't think it's that bad at all. I don't get it. I don't know where these people are coming from. These must be like, fucking...
From the Amish community? Yeah.
I was going to say the Mormon community, but that's mean, because Mormon people are nice. All
And
right.
they have special underwear, yeah.
Okay, well then... fine.
Okay, go on.
So somebody left a review that's a 5-star review that said funnier than Fielding Chase. I don't understand the criticism about the foul language and the hosts not doing their homework. There is some swearing, but it's not to Joe Pesci levels. The hosts are really entertaining from their assessment of the show, and they do go into detail to the side trails that Sean goes on, after which Steve inevitably has to pull him back on topic. Recommended for all Columbo files.
That's great.
All right, Steve. I have a sad thing. I have sad news for you. Steve, you will not have to swing the Wiggin wheel of the 90s today. Do you know why?
No.
Because there's only one left. So you will never have to swing it again.
Oh, that's good.
And save money with Liberty Mutual.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello. Is that you? See, this is why we get... Yeah.
So I'm excited.
I see what you did there, Steve. You didn't count on the commercial, but you know.
No, I did not. No, YouTube and they.
I was
sucky
recently.
little commercials.
I was recently with my dear partner Tom in an airport bathroom. We were in adjacent stalls after a 3-hour flight, and I did the same thing where I turned my phone on and went to YouTube and then typed in fart noises, and then had to listen to a commercial. Oh shit! Skip that. Get the fart noises. There's nobody else in the bathroom that could enjoy that. Anyway, okay. So we are going to be watching Murder in Malibu.
I have not seen it.
Starring a guy whose name I don't remember. But it also stars Brenda Vaccaro.
I don't know who that is.
Look her up.
That's a guy? I mean, girl? Oh my god.
Brenda Vaccaro. And you'll want to look her up. She was in a movie called... that you may have heard of called Midnight Cowboy up there. I think she got an Academy Award
up
nomination.
there? What do you think? I'm in New York?
No, Midnight Cowboy was set in New York, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty damn good movie with John Voight. Well, anyway, doesn't matter. Brenda Vaccaro and I think a guy whose name I can't remember. It doesn't make a mark in my mind at all. You'll understand when you see the episode. So is there anything you want to add to that, Steve?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm just looking at who's in it. Nobody I recognize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's the murderer? Who's the guy?
Oh, wait a minute. This isn't... Is this the one about the dentist?
No. That's Uneasy Lies the Crown. We already did that one, Grandpa.
I see. All right. Thank you. How? Yep. Yay. Last 90s.
So with that, we bid you adieu. Is there anything you want to say, Steve, before I let you go? We let you, I'm so drunk.
Well, I was going to say that, but there you go. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Fuck.
What? Don't cuss. No. Bad Sean.
Thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to columboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @columboconfab and look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes.
I love clues.
Hello, I'm Sean, and I'm the host of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Each episode, I randomly pick a film from the book and spend about 10 minutes talking about its director, the cast, the genre, and my personal thoughts on the merits of the film. Each delicious yet bite-sized episode contains information about a film from practically any genre, any country, or any year. Check us out on iTunes and we'll send you free cookies. Some restrictions apply.